Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation. Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I'm your host, Justin D. Morgan. And it is Thursday. I've got goodies on my bench, and I have eyes on the 486 board. That's why I was a little bit late. Couldn't remember where I'd put it. And let's see here who we have in the chat, which YouTube has so helpfully changed from channel names to handles. We have Thomas Armstrong. Hi, Thomas. We have Hardware Hacker. Hi, Hardware Hacker. We have Gut Bomb. Hi, Jason. We have Dave's Vintage Apple Tech. Hi, Dave. We have Sadmac 356. Hi, Sadmac. Sadmac says, ooh, this should be good. We have, let's see here. Catbox. Howdy. I am having trouble remembering who you actually are. We have Retro Tech Chris. Hi, Chris. We have SJ Brian EXE. Welcome, SJ. We have Soccer Wrench. Hi, Soccer Wrench. Callan. Oh, yes. All right. I will try to remember. Callan. All right. Welcome, Callan. All right. So we got the VCF East goal. Link is in the description. Oh, we have a Justin. Hi, Justin. We got the coffee goal. Link is in the description. And, we have Stian. Greetings from frozen Florida. Oh, it's a chilly one here in Virginia, too. And by chilly, I mean I did not want to take the trash out, but tomorrow is trash day, so I had to anyways, because it was like 27, actually I think it was 25 degrees Fahrenheit and windy when I took the trash out about 20 minutes ago. And something spooked me while I was outside, so I was already wanting to get inside the house where it was warm, but I could not get in the house high enough. I don't know what spooked me. I think some animal made a sound, and I was not expecting the animal to be within earshot, so whatever it was, I didn't want to find out what it was. Probably not the bear, though. No one's seen the bear this winter. Dave says it made it up to 60. Yeah. Because also, while I was driving home from work, I saw something in the woods in our neighborhood, and I don't know what it was either, so the two could be related. For all I know, though, it was like the stray cat that wanders the neighborhood and made a yowl at something, and I had the audacity to be rolling my garbage can outside. But anyways, Dave says Bigfoot. Stan says it's 45 degrees Fahrenheit here. Yeah, I've got my space heater on behind me, and I probably will turn the one on at my feet, too. But, yeah. All right. I think so that we can have maximum Windows 98 time, I do need to make sure we all get this important announcement so we can get on to dealing with what's on my workbench right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan!
Hey, who comes up with these titles anyway?
Alright, so I have a small collection of items that have arrived over the past week and a half or so. And I'm going to open them in no particular order. Some of these items, I think it will be obvious why I bought them. And some of them, it will be less obvious why I bought them. Well, Jason, you're just in time to see Wheel of Regrets. Harder Hacker says, who comes up with these titles anyways? Whoop, here I am about to open the box before I say hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Washington State. I do know what is in this box. I don't know why it was sent in a box this large, but, well, that hopefully will mean there's plenty of packaging around this, because this should be an item for Monday's live stream, which is just as good of a time as any to announce that Monday, since I will have the day off of work for Martin Luther King Day, I will be doing live streams on Monday and Thursday next week, and Monday's live stream will start at 4 p.m. Eastern. And that is just as good a time as any to reveal what is in this box, because that will reveal the topic for Monday's live stream. Of course, I've got it scheduled, so it's not like you couldn't go to my YouTube page and see what it is. But anyways, I do, when having projects that need to be put back together that are going to be somewhat painful to put back together, I do go and see if there's anything I would like to do to the machine. Socket Wrench says, I have to say, I'm thankful the stream popped up. It's preferable to the multiple military choppers hovering overhead right now. Yes, I would agree that my stream is preferable to choppers hovering. Yeah. I've lived closer to the airports. I know what it's like to have choppers hovering. We have Jesse. Hi, I8386SX. Welcome. Yes. So I have a Pentium 3S. And not just any Pentium 3S. This one's the 1.4 gigahertz. So this is going to be for my Gateway Profile 3. I'm going to go ahead and install the fastest Pentium 3, and hopefully the motherboard will support it. So there we go, and that will be Monday starting at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that's why I bought this, because I decided, because the processor is kind of tricky to upgrade after you put it together, I decided I might as well. Also, I did get a IDE to SATA adapter, so I can put a SATA SSD in it instead of a spinning hard drive. So there we go. And since Jesse just joined the chat, I would like to point out this next package here comes to us from a slightly familiar looking eBay store. It comes from the I8386SX eBay store, which at the moment, for reasons, is closed, so you'll have to wait until later to place your order for these items, should you be interested. But these do come from Jesse's eBay store. So these are not potential regrets, but these are items that I'd been needing for a while. So I do have a replacement battery for my compact Portable 3. So there's the adapter board that lets you plug in a standard coin cell. So we'll replace it with, it's replaced with the CR2477. There we go, very nice. And because I've been looking for a way to copy data onto older computers that don't necessarily have the, like, fancy built-in things, and I was curious, I picked up one of these LPT to SD adapters. So there we go. there's the LPT to SD adapter, and it included a micro SD card, and it includes instructions for setting it up, and Jesse sent me over Discord the disk images that I'll need to boot from to get it to work. So anyways, so I've got one of those cool adapters. And yeah, there we go. Some cool doodads from Jesse's eBay store. And he'll keep the community, he'll let the community know when he is available to take orders again. So thank you, Jesse, for getting those out to me. And wish you the best at this time. And we'll be there to place orders with your eBay store when you get back. So the next item is, yes, Hardware Hacker says printer port to SD. Yes. I picked it up so that for older computers that don't have like built-in SCSI or I just want to copy some files to it, that I can just like plug in the adapter in the parallel port, boot it from a floppy disk, and then copy things from an SD card onto whatever hard drive it has in it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't remember who designed the board, but yeah, it quite honestly was a little more convenient than another solution I have, which I actually have a license for a zip driver, like an iOmega zip driver that'll work with V20 or later. But then to copy files that way, you have to, well, you first all have to have a zip drive, which I do have. I have parallel zip drive. But to copy files from a modern computer, you need a USB zip drive, which I do not have, surprisingly. Hardware Hacker says, I had no idea that could even be a thing. Jesse says it was Motzi79 made it. So yes, you can look forward to, I'll use it at some point. I know I've got a computer. In fact, actually, I've got an Emerson 8800 that has the original software on an MFM hard drive. I will probably use that to copy the software off of the MFM hard drive, because I do not have one of those fancy MFM adapter dealy doodads. They're kind of expensive. Socket Wrench says that's a really neat path for PCs. Yes. So, while I can't use it to image the drive that's in that computer, I can at least copy the software off. I think the software is old enough that if I can copy it off, then at least I can still archive it. Jesse says there should be significant clarity next week. All right. Well, we will, I will hopefully maybe have a few people interested and they know to check your eBay store later. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks, Jesse, for getting those out, and I will definitely be able to put them to good use. And if anyone's wondering, I did actually buy them on his eBay store so that I could say I bought them on his eBay store. So, yes, and now Jesse's eBay store, if anyone's wondering, is I80386SX. He renamed his eBay store to match his YouTube handle. So, yes. All right, anyways, this next item comes to us from an eBay seller in Winter Springs, Florida. And I only mention the city because that must be where all this cold weather is coming from, because it's Winter Springs. So I apologize for ordering from apparently a cold part of Florida. Next time I will endeavor to try to order from, say, Sunny Springs, USA. Hot sulfur, no, never mind. We don't want hot sulfur springs. That might bring weird odors with it. But yeah, Sunny Springs, USA. I'll try to order from them next time. Y'all East Coast people that are freezing right now. Anyways, yeah. So hi to all my eBay sellers. and viewers in Florida. All right. Let me pull the invoice out. So we have not one lot of compact flash cards, not 2 lots of compact flash cards, but three little lots of compact flash cards. Thunderclap. So what did I pick up from this eBay seller? All right. These, I believe, are... okay. Hardware Hacker says, we want Warm Springs, USA. Yes. All right, so the first lot of cards is 4 1 gigabyte compact flash cards. These are, I think, industrial compact flash cards. So generally these work well in IDE to compact flash adapters. So anyways, they are used, but there we go. We got 4 of those. Also, because I do occasionally like to put smaller cards in XT class computers so that you don't have to wait forever to do a directory listing, because it's not like I need to keep the benchmark software on them, because most of the benchmark software won't run on an XT class computer. I picked up some 64 megabyte compact flash cards. Jesse says, I also may have a bone to pick with Transcend. No, that bone doesn't have meat on it. I do want to order some compact flash cards that Jesse found that have a dinosaur picture on them, and I'm hoping the dinosaur picture means they're good. Chris says you can create partitions to fix that too. Yes, but sometimes I just like to use a little card because I just need a little space. And then the last one was a lot of assorted cards. And I like this one because it had some Ultra 2s in it, which generally work with IDE to compact flash adapters. And it did have a Transcend card, which usually work, but well, Jesse's got a bone to pick with them for some reason. And Lexar professional card, which since this is a professional card that would be for a digital camera, it probably supports a tappy mode. So it will probably work as well, but I don't know. But generally, the cards that were sold for use in digital SLR cameras generally do support the ATA mode. But not always. Hardware Hacker says, 64 megabytes. Whoa there, big spender. And actually, I kind of want to say that I think I might have paid like $30 to $35 for all those cards. I didn't spend a lot, but hopefully I will be able to get a number of computers running with these. Basically, I had looked at my stash of compact flash cards and realized that I have a bunch of 4 gigabyte cards, but I didn't really have anything that was like 1 gigabyte or smaller for other systems. Chris says, I bought 17 Zircon PCM-CIA cards this week. Yeah, I saw that. Hi, Jamie's Hack Shack. Welcome. So anyways, all right, this next item comes to us from an eBay seller in Texas. Yes, I think I know which one this is. This is going to be one of those items. Jamie says, that was a haul. Yeah. This is going to be one of those items that I think is not going to be as obvious why I bought it at first. Until you realize that I have I have a processor. Oh, well, the eBay seller wanted to make sure I knew it was parts only. Which is fine. All right. I have a processor, and I've been looking for the proper motherboard for it. And I'm hoping this one will be it. And I will explain. I will probably have to explain, because you're going to look at this and be like, but Justin, that's a Socket 370 motherboard. Well, yes, it is. And it's not that I don't have a few Socket 370 motherboards, because I do. This one is a little different. And that this one has a VIA chipset and not an Intel chipset. And that is important because I have a VIA C3 processor, and the only Socket 370 motherboards I had are actually not compatible with the VIA C3 processor. So I went to look to try to figure out what motherboards support it, and for the best chance of supporting the VIA C3 processor, you need a motherboard with a VIA chipset. Not that there aren't some Intel boards that might support it, but let's just say I went through a lot of Intel boards while looking for one, and I didn't find one that had BIOS support for it. Now, I do know there is a BIOS mod tool out there that will let you add support for, or supposedly will let you add support for the VIA C3 processor to a BIOS file that you can then flash onto the motherboard. But I don't know. I was kind of more wanting to just find a board I knew it would work in. So, anyways, I found this board. The price was right. I think the seller wanted like $30 or somewhere between $30 and $40. But it was sold as is, and I can tell you that some of the capacitors are bulged, so I am going to have to recap the board. But I am hoping that a recap of the board is all I really need to do. That and remove this label off the PCI slots. But the other thing was, I did want one that at least had one ISA slot. So anyways, this board, it's the Soyo SY7VCAE, and I did confirm that the manual does say the VIA C3 is supported, so this board should just work. So anyways, that's why I bought this board. Is so that I could have a computer with the VIA C3 processor. As good or bad, probably bad as it might actually be. I'll just probably have to recap it first. As for the motherboard, I mean, it's probably really just a mid-tier Soyo motherboard. I mean, it doesn't have built-in sound. It's got AGP, PCI, ISA, IDE, floppy, 3 DIMMs. Not really anything fancy, but it should get the job done. In fact, it looks like they might have even put a new coin cell battery in it before shipping it. Bonus. Anyways, there we go. That's why I bought this board. Because I wanted to set something up with a VIA C3 processor. Hardware Hacker says, the search has been quite a process. Yes. Because the VIA C3 processors I have were... I bought them in some pre-built systems from L&Y, and They just jammed them in a motherboard. The motherboard doesn't actually support the VIA C3 processor. So, Jesse says, remember those Soyo boards from Tiger Direct? Yes, I think I've seen them before, too. Oh, and what do you know? We have another box from Texas. So, hi again to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Texas. Now, why I bought this will be a little less of a mystery once you see what it is. In fact, while I've set some of the other things that I've opened to the side, this one I'm going to leave on my bench. If it is what I think it is. Smell the box when you open it. I smell priority mail bubble envelopes. Sakarinch says, Texas boxes always smell dusty and oily to me. Yeah, not really much of a smell. At least the seller did not actually use... correction. Oh, actually these bubble envelopes are so old that the adhesive is gone on them. Well, I was about to say I'll be able to reuse them, but apparently those are old envelopes and the adhesive's all bad on them. Harder Hacker says, speaking of bench, how goes the bench build? I haven't had a chance to. I have the lumber in my garage. It's either been raining or cold. I haven't had a chance to build. And I need to get a piece of foam so I can cut the MDF panels. I have the lumber in my garage. I just haven't had a chance to build. It is fairly high on my list, along with a bunch of other stuff that's high on my list. And we have a Visa Local Bus controller card. Yeah, exactly. So we have a Visa Local Bus controller card for my UMC motherboard if it works. With all of these wonderful features, we have a UMC chipset, which hopefully goes well with a UMC motherboard chipset. We have the Vision QD6500 chip for faster IDE, supported by XTIDE BIOS. And we have ROM, look at this, a ROM socket. Chips that are needed to support the ROM socket are optional. We will not be trying this functionality tonight because I will spend I don't know how long trying to find an 74LS138 and a 74LS244. I'm fairly sure I have them. But anyways, there we go. And I was not kidding about actually trying this card tonight because we are actually going to try the card tonight. There we go. See, I said it right there. Now, if we do happen to get Windows 98 installed before the end of the night, I do have one motherboard here that I would like to update the BIOS on. I was working on it during Dave's stream, so I do have this set to the side. It's a Socket 7 motherboard, and I discovered that there is a Mr. BIOS for it, so I would like to try the Mr. BIOS update, but this is just a teaser for and the item that I have setting here, if we would have a few spare minutes, because I know Windows 98 is probably going to take a while to install. All right, so that concludes Wheel of Regrets for tonight. I do have one more item, but I am going to save it because I did want to leave 2 hours for Windows 98. Yeah. Soccer Wrench says, Mr. BIOS. I can't have heard that right. Actually, I think it's MR BIOS. But I think there are... I before I realized that it was MR BIOS, I was calling it Mr. BIOS because I didn't know any different. So, yeah, it actually is MR BIOS. But from the first day I saw the product until, like, probably the end of last year when I think I read or saw something that pointed out it's MR BIOS, I always called it Mr. BIOS. Sadmax says, but no, he did say Mr. BIOS. Yes. Gutbomb says, everyone just says Mr. though. Yeah. Gutbomb says, just like we all used to say Dr. DOS. Yes. Soccer Rich says, I prefer Mr. BIOS. It has an 80s flair like Mr. Fusion. Yes. Or Mr. Coffee. Because we all know that Dark Helmet likes to drink his Mr. Coffee while he watches Mr. Radar. Yes. We break for nobody. Harder Hacker says, great, Scott. Sabak says, I was just going to say something about that cut bomb. Yeah. All right, let me go grab the motherboard. It's closer than I thought it was. Okay, so here we go. There's the 486 motherboard. Let me go grab a... Alright, let's see here. I do have a mouse so that I won't have to suffer through not having a mouse. Need to make sure I don't lose that. Alright. There we go. There's the mouse. Let me go grab a keyboard adapter so I can use it. Alright. Yes, Harder Hacker says paging Jack 68K. Alright. So, let me see here. So, I have the original, that was the original BIOS chip that was on the board. That was the BIOS chip that I just set to the side. And this was the RAM chip, the SIM that came with it when I bought it from eBay. To help with installing Windows 95 and 98, I have put 32 megabytes of RAM on this board. To help a little bit, I think I have an award BIOS on it right now, because the award BIOS supports a 1 gigabyte hard drive. I was trying to keep this as simple as possible. I could have probably done it differently, but I decided to keep it simple. Oh, that's right. We were going to try this card here. So let me go ahead and transfer over the floppy cable. And I will transfer over the hard drive adapter. And so this is my WinBond based QD6500 card, which I will put back into the collection for putting in a different Visa Local Bus board. For this one, I was hoping to, I kind of wanted to make it an all UMC build. Yes, UMC made video chips. No, I am not going to spend over $250 for a Visa Local Bus UMC video card because that is just ridiculous. So it will be a mostly UMC build. A video will probably be... Hey, we have Hardware Hacker 5 little dollars for VCF East. Thank you. Yes. I know last time well, let's see here. I think that means I'm about 210-ish now towards my 350 goal. So, all right. Thank you, everyone that has contributed. That is approximate math because, well, payment fees. But anyways, so, all right. So we have a 1 gigabyte card. We were trying to install Windows 98 using a different method last time. It was not going well. So what I am going to do... Capcom says to Sad Mac, I always called it Ms. DOS as a kid, and my dad would correct me every time. Yeah. Yep. All right. So we are going to format this compact flash card. Oh, actually, fun fact, the black wires go in the middle because otherwise you will short things out on your motherboard. But additional fun fact, motherboards of the 90s did not use wireless power, so do be sure to plug in the power to the motherboard or nothing's going to happen. I guess if you don't plug in power, then you're not going to risk shorting it out. But, you know, we will plug the black wires in the middle. That's where the commons go. And now when I power it up, I should have more activity, including, hopefully, the Trident card outputting an actual video image. Like so. There we go. Oh, it does look like I do need to go into setup. And we will load the defaults. Okay, it is January 15th. That is correct. It is... Okay, well, that's close enough time. It would appear as if... Oh. Interesting. Sadmax says, motherboards today don't use wireless power as well. Yeah. Alright. 1986, 1663. Alright. had to... I write the geometry on the back of my compact flash cards. So I had to power it down so I could read the geometry from the back of the cards. There we go. Alright, so... because this board has a user 1986, 16, 63, and I think we can use normal. Alright, and need to set the floppy type. That's really weird. Enabled, disabled. Yeah, I think all that looks fine. Set features. Yeah, auto. Okay. There we go. CSU Industries. CDI says yes, they do. It's called batteries. Yes. Welcome, CDI. Yes. Yes, it could have a battery, but there's still usually a battery, something plugged into the motherboard. I'd forgotten to plug the power leads into the motherboard. So this is my UMC 486SX running at a whopping 33 megahertz. It has 32 megs of RAM, gigabyte compact flash card, and we are hung up waiting for something to post. Oh! Oh, you know, I bet this controller card is misconfigured. Or defective. Alright, let me quickly double check the jumper settings here. The floppy is JP8. It should be 1 and 2. It is. Alright. The hard drive is... oh, possibly not enabled. Okay. Alright. Yes, we had a floppy drive connected. Alright, so while Windows 98 installs, I am going to have to try to look up the full jumper settings for that card. Because they are not all marked on the card. But CDS says don't remember needing to set disk geometry settings on VESA local bus based motherboard controllers. Auto worked for me. Well, this board doesn't have auto. Or if it does have auto, it is not in the main screen. Yes, normally a 486 board by the time, well, there may be an auto detect, but there wasn't an auto setting in the general setup tab. All right, I'll have to look up the settings for this card. I think the IDE bus was disabled. And I think hold please. Oh, oh, there we go. It took a couple tries. All right. Well, okay, what I was trying to say, there's no auto type in the standard setup. There is IDE auto detection here. But it takes longer than me looking at what I wrote on the card and... Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. And it doesn't, and the other thing is this motherboard, for some reason, won't auto-detect on this controller card. Probably because it wasn't designed for the... It's... I don't know. I don't know why it won't auto-detect. Oh, I know why it won't auto-detect. It does help to have... It helps to have the full Visa Local Bus card edge in the slot. Oh, okay, there we go. And the correct answer for this card is actually 1. Because I use this card on multiple computers, so I do not want it to use... I don't want LBA mode. I think my... I forgot. It detects pretty quick, but my qualm is it... It takes a long time to not find a drive. Okay, that was user error. I didn't have the card pushed in all the way. To be fair, though, the Trident card was blocking my view of the controller card edge. CDS says, with the $94.95 copyright, they must have paid for, yeah, our customers do not need fancy. I mean, I'm not going to say that the manufacturer of this motherboard didn't actually license the BIOS, but I do know there were some motherboards back in the day that didn't actually license the BIOS for their motherboard. I don't know if this is one of them. So it's also possible the fancy features weren't included because they didn't license the BIOS and swiped it from somewhere else that didn't include the fancy features. There we go. All right. So what am I going to do here? Because I have... This is the drive that we installed... Oh, I did not mean to unplug the mouse. So this is the one we used last time. It's got a copy of Windows 98 that was an upgrade from 95 that itself was a fresh install using an upgrade installer, and that we tried to run the second edition update on, and it was not happy with that. So instead, what I am going to do here is I am going to go to 3, I am going to go to 1, I am going to delete partition 1, I am actually going to restart, and you will see why in a moment. SadMax says in quotes, may or may not have, yes, a licensed BIOS. Interestingly enough, this motherboard also has an AMI and an award BIOS for it. The AMI BIOS is one of those Win BIOSes, so while they're neat, those Win BIOSes generally don't let you configure everything on the board. And the Win BIOS for this motherboard is limited to a 512 megabyte drive. So I've got the award BIOS in right now because at least it supports, I think if I configured the drive in LBA mode, I'd be able to use a 4 gigabyte drive. Which, if I continue to have trouble with this 1 gigabyte card, I was going to, set the card to, I was going to try to set the card to large disk mode, so it'd be FAT32, but whatever. I guess this card's not having that. I believe I have actually, I do have a motherboard. The motherboard is non-functional, but I do have a motherboard that was from PC chips. And it also, I think, had 2 different BIOSes that were available for it. And one of those BIOSes actually does boot and say it's an unlicensed demo. Unfortunately, that board no longer works because I did a dumb and... I did repeated dumbs with it because... if you... I kept plugging in the processor backwards. Oh, interesting. Well, see, the processor I had for it was one of those quad flat pack processors on a interposer board, and the interposer board had 2 different pin 1 indicators. So it's not like I was trying to kill the processor and motherboard. The problem is it had 2 different pin 1 indicators, because the silk screen, we're gonna LBA this drive. I changed my mind. We'll do that. So it had the pin 1 indicator for the overall package, but it also had a pin 1 indicator for the quad flat pack that was on the interposer board. And unfortunately, the corner indicator for the quad flat pack was more prominent than the pin 1 indicator for the interposer. So I kept plugging the processor in, rotated 90 degrees from the way it should have been, because I kept forgetting which pin 1 was for the interposer. It was a really bad design. Anyways, and I think I accidentally plugged the math coprocessor in 90 degrees rotated a time or 2 as well for a completely different reason. I think the motherboard had a really poor pin 1 indicator for that. So anyway, the motherboard doesn't work. ultimately was probably would be considered user error, but all right. Large disk support, yes. All right, 3, 1, 1, no volume label. Now, 1, 1. Yeah, I think honestly, given the way it was designed, it was probably it would have been inevitable for whoever got it probably to eventually manage to plug things in wrong. I have seen better designed 386 interposer boards that did not have, well, I think pin 1 was for the quad flat pack was indicated on the silk screen, but it was a very small mark that would have helped manufacturing, and but they had a very prominent pin 1 indicator for the interposer board. But yeah, this one, it was really badly designed. I think they designed it to they designed it such that no one will ever remove this interposer board. Probably the way they designed it. And here we are now experimenting with old hardware in the 2020s, and there we go. All right, I relented to LBA mode, so I'd have the whole gigabyte to use, and would be in FAT32 mode. So, all right, so now I formatted the card, got a fresh FAT32 file system on it. So I am going to, all right, so I'm going to pull the card out, plug it into my compact flash card reader, which is of course not plugged into my computer. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I'm going to copy the Windows 98 installer over to the compact flash card so that I don't have to try to run it from a CD drive, because it's already going to be slow as it is. All right. So bear with me as I copy the installer over. All right. Create a new folder called Win98. All right. And now I think I should have the installer here. I had thought about trying the quick load, but I realized one of the requirements of quick load is that you had to have a Linux compatible disk controller. And then I decided that, I think the best chance of me getting Windows 98 installed on this is to just actually use the Windows 98 installer. Because I'm fairly sure this disk controller is supported by Windows 98, but I am not sure at all if it is supported by Linux. So I realized there was the chance I could install this faster, but this board is already doing enough. I decided not to push my luck. All right, I'm looking for the all right, let me sort by name. All right. All right. Um, Also, I guess the other reason I didn't do the fast load is because I'd also have to get a CD-ROM drive working on here and burn disks and all that. And I just decided we would go for the method I know should work on this computer if it's going to install, because I'm not exactly 100% sure that it'll even install. All right, so we will. All right. All right, so we are on a holding pattern here. All right. Take a moment for me to get the installer because apparently I don't have it backed up on this computer. We could try to install Windows 10 on this 486. I'm sure that'll go over really well, don't you think? All right, I am going to go for Windows 98 full retail, and hopefully that will. Although I guess I could have probably gone OEM, but full retail should probably do a decent job. But we are hardware hacker says what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, I mean, in reality, probably if it's going to go wrong, it'll probably go wrong in the same way it did when I tried to do the second edition update, in that it's going to start to install files and then give some generic error and quit. Yeah, exactly. Or yeah, something will let out the magic smoke on the board. And but yeah, I think though, if I use the Windows 98 full retail installer, I think the file copy happens in DOS mode, which might actually give it a slightly better chance of working. Hey, Game Doc, welcome. We're continuing that exploration of this interesting motherboard. I am I am acquiring my backup copy because for some reason I had misplaced it. Nudge nudge wink wink. While we're waiting for the backup copy to finish restoring to this computer, I am going to see if I can find the jumper settings for this card that I had wanted to use, and we'll see if maybe it will work if I set the jumper settings. So Let me do a quick search for this board. It is a QD6500A card. Oh, here we go. The retro web has this card on it. Nice. And oh yeah, that's the card. Version 209. Nice. Although the card on the retro web has that LS244 installed on it from the factory. All right, so let me check the jumper settings here real quick. All right, so JP1 is enabled is open. All right, well, that is... All right, that is correct. JP2... Pins 2 and 3 is sense clock from Visa Local Bus. All right, that's correct. I think that's the default, at least for the card. All right, chipset register address is 2 and 3. That's the default. JP4 pins 2 and 3 for primary. All right, that's correct. You know, it's possible this card just doesn't work. And floppy interface is JP8. And pins 1 and 2 is enabled. Okay, well, that's correct. JP13 is the game port. Pins 1 and 2, that's okay. IDE JP15, that should be pins 1 and 2. Let's see, JP15, where's that? Oh, there it is. All right, that is correct. And floppy address JP16 should be closed. And it is. All right. So that all looks correct. I might try the card again. And Capcom says, interesting motherboard. Yes. All right. So while we wait here, I'm going to... It is possible this card didn't work, because maybe I just didn't have it inserted all the way. Card edge could have been dirty. Card could be defective. Yes. PC chips did certainly know how to make their boards appear fancier than they actually were by using the white ISA slots instead of the black ones. But the weird thing is, if you look at the Visa Local Bus slots, they're the standard color. Or, well, no, actually, they're black and not brown, but I guess they couldn't get that these in white at the time to make them match. I don't know. Or maybe they were going for the two-tone look. I don't know, but yeah. I couldn't tell you why exactly they used a different color slot than normal. I would thought that would cost more. They were the budget motherboard manufacturer. But then again, maybe these are actually cheaper slots. And I don't know. It does make for an interesting looking build. Maybe you inserted the card at the wrong pin 1. Yeah. All right. Well, the card is all the way in. And we are... Oh, there we go. Now I gotta deal with the fact that apparently 7-zip is not the... Seven-zip is for some reason not associated with the 7-zip files on this computer. I don't know why. All right, as soon as I am unzipping now. And should be able to copy the installer files over here momentarily. Second edition. Open with Windows Explorer. I don't care what your recommendation is. Antivirus. I know you probably absolutely hated the fact I just mounted a Windows 98 disk. All right. All right. There we go. We're copying to the compact flash card now. And then hopefully we'll see that. Hopefully this controller card works. I mean, it is jumpered correctly. But that is also why I call them potential regrets from eBay, because I bought this controller card from one of the plethora of everything is as is sellers on eBay. Came from a computer museum is what they might have claimed, although it came from Texas, so not sure which computer museum it might have come from. Unable to test everything, so it's all as is. What's up, 1-bit? Hey, 1-bit. Oh, I saw your video plot all the way. Stream dead? I don't think so. Not sure what you all are seeing, but I'm live. Capcom says I refreshed and it's back. That one might be on YouTube. Because I have dropped 0 frames. Hard disks fail, floppy disks fail. 1-bit says it halted for a good 30 seconds, but it's good now. Alright, well, never underestimate that it might have been YouTube. Oh, it started just as figures. Yeah, interestingly enough, on my end, all right. All right. Context probably it either a bad card or contacts need cleaned, and I'm going to probably say it's the latter until I actually try to clean the contacts. So we'll go back to this other controller card, which has the same disk controller chip on it. It's just a different, same IDE controller chip. Or, well, actually, it's the, actually, it's, the, 2 IDE channel controller version of the chip. Alright. I'll clean those contacts later. Alright, so this should boot to DOS. Huh. Or... Oh, kind of... Alright. Something's unhappy about something. Alright. 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 Controller card is plugged in. Alright. Let's try that again. Floppy disks fail. That's weird. Did it forget? No? Alright. Floppy disk. Alright. I thought I got the cable in right. Okay, that is the cable connected to the GoTech. I do have pin 1 to pin 1. This is the first controller card that was working. Alright. Floppy disks fail. C0. Okay. Alright. Standard CMOS setup. 1.44 megabyte. All right, we're just going to continue. Let's see if it even... All right. I mean, it's possible. And now, after a power cycle, it is now happy with the floppy drive. Go Tech. I have no idea why. I guess something wasn't fully seated. And Ian says, and I'm at my hotel. Greetings from St. Frozenburg, Florida. Yeah. Yeah, well, one of my eBay packages was from Winter Springs, Florida, so um yeah. Oh, Stan says I heard. I was in the I was listening in the car even if I couldn't chat or watch. All right, well, thank you for being attentive to the road. My channel is better entertainment than Sirius XM. Yes. All right. So here we go. Jack68K says, "Ew, I came home to discover a spider right in the middle of my desk." Ew. Yeah. Hi Jack, welcome. All right, so we are rolling with the setup. We are actually going at a decent speed. I do have mouse, so there we go. This is the Windows 98 second edition full retail installer. That is the different thing I am trying this time around. It is, of course, 10:58 p.m. and the estimated time, as soon as it gives us an estimated time, will probably be like 75 minutes. Stian says, if you have mouse, you must be a cat. Jack says 30 to 60 days. Yeah. Hardware Hacker says, I paged you ages ago. Ah. Stian says, 3 minutes to 75 years. Well, hopefully because we're not trying to update a previous Windows install, hopefully it might only take 74 minutes. Sadmax says, ah, yes, 3 to 5 business days, yes. All right. Because I think the problem with second edition was hopefully the fact it was trying to do an update and the system doesn't really meet minimum requirements. So I'm hoping the full version, which does a lot of the install under DOS mode instead of Windows mode. I'm hoping that helps it along. All right, so let's see here. I am going to, let's see. Um, sh- that may or may not work. And apparently that worked. All right. See Windows. Stian says 97, 98, 99, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. Yeah. Texas, what did I miss? You missed Wheel of Regrets, and then you missed me trying to use the controller card that was in Wheel of Regrets. And then you missed me copying Windows 98, which wasn't really much to miss. Any regrets tonight? The controller card that I bought on eBay has so far not worked. So, yes, potential regrets. Although, while I am waiting for Windows to do things, I am going to clean the contacts on the card. That way, if the install wraps up sooner than expected, we can try the card. It's only fair. See, there we go. Estimated time remaining 87 minutes. I'm hoping that does come down a little bit. No, actually, I'm looking at the. Actually, the contacts on this controller card I got on eBay, they don't look dirty. However, the Q-tip is telling a different story. So maybe they are oxidized. And maybe the card might actually work with a cleaning. All right. Well, there's that. I'll set the Q-tips to where I can show you when I go back to table cam. Stian says it's a Microsoft estimate. Whatever the actual time is, we know it won't be 87 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I think Dave Plummer did a video on that, if I'm not mistaken, on the estimates. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. So I do at least have some standards for an install. So I am going to at least install a few extras. All right, accessibility. Turn that off. Let's see, accessories. I do want the desktop wallpapers. I do want the games. I want the mouse pointers because these things aren't really big. I want all the screensavers. Except I'll skip the OpenGL ones. That's kind of crazy on this system. Yeah, that looks good. All right. Address book, communications. Don't need dial-up networking. I want hyperterminal. We don't need net meeting and phone dialer. All right, looks good. Desktop themes. Yeah, we want those. Internet tools. We don't need personal web server. This thing's going to be chugging enough as it is. We do not need to. We don't need those. I don't have a sound card installed, but if this works, I might actually run one or install one later. Online services, we don't need that. Outlook Express, we don't need that. System tools, I can skip those. Do like character map. All right, there we go. That's a reasonable balance. Web TV, Jack says, I don't remember Web TV for Windows. Was that like Real Player 1.0? I don't remember it either. It probably was a Real Player competitor or something. We'll call this UMC 33. And my UMC SX 33. That's fine. That's fine. Yes, United States. All right, because you're going to make me wait for you to copy things because I forgot the parameter that tells you not to do this. But I'm not going to create the startup disk. Oh, look, we're already down to 79 minutes. And let's see, that should save a minute. All right. There we go. All right. See, already down to 76. Hi, Lazy Bite Boy. Welcome. TV Tuner Card app for live TV. Also, hey, everyone. Yep. All right. All right. I just turned my heater up a little higher. Didn't look at my thermometer when I came down to the basement. Oh, it's 51.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, we're already to 76 minutes remaining, and it's doing something. I don't know. High level something. Probably the Windows installer complaining to all the peripherals that he's really making us install all this. Jeez. Jack says, 14 minutes have elapsed in the last 10 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, Windows 98 setup. Hey, Trident card, can you believe he's making this computer run Windows 98? And the Trident card's like, yes, I can. He's done this before, and he'll do it again. Ian's smiley face emoji. Yeah. Hey, processor. I was told to ignore your ignore minimum specs, but fancy meeting you here at a Windows 98 second edition install. I do not know what it is doing, but it is not copying files, or it doesn't seem like it's copying files. I don't see any disk activity, in other words, but that's not to say that it's not doing anything. It could be creating a list of what it needs to copy in memory based on my install selections. Oh, there we go. I just saw the activity light on the compact flash adapter blink. All right, it might actually be about ready to copy files. Oh, it's preparing to copy new system files. All right, because I think a progress bar appears when it starts to copy files. Or no, it doesn't. Not on 98. Or does it? I don't remember. Jack says, I guess it makes up for the 10 minutes of less than a minute remaining. Yeah. Stan says, I like the NT style setup program better. Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna help someone with a project, and I may, depending on how long it takes for the main part of it, I may try NT35. Not on this computer. No. Oh no. Uh, Windows 98 second edition, I think's enough torture for this computer. Yeah, we're still on preparing to copy files. A little more disk activity there. Oh, there we go. We've got the hourglass mouse cursor. Oh, okay. We do get a file copy progress. All right. 74 minutes. Capcom says we really need some Jeopardy music. 73 minutes. Unfortunately, I think this just naturally will take a while because I believe cab files are compressed, so poor processor having to uncompress stuff. There we go. 72 minutes. 5%. Jack says, nobody wants to listen to the same 8 bars of music for 72 more minutes. Ian says, cab files are indeed compressed. Jack says, maybe you should compose some installing music, Gut Bomb. Maybe we could get a an A royalty-free alternative to Jeopardy think music. Ian says, I think some Sid music would be cool. Although, maybe with a few more than 8 bars for if it's got to go for 72 minutes. Socket Wrench says to Jack, you sure about that? Because I know some people. um, I can think of a couple cases where I might like to try to inflict 72 minutes of those 8 bars of music on people. Like, for example, those scammers that call you to try to take your money. I can somehow fool them into, yeah, I gotta put you on hold for a while. I'll be back, I promise. Dear, 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 dear. Maybe intersperse it with me sounding like I'm picking the phone up again. It's like, oh yeah, it's just gonna take a little bit longer. Um, but I will be right back. I just gotta go. Uh, I don't know, and then make up some silly excuse that would make them want to stay holding. I just gotta go mobile deposit this large inheritance check. And then after they've held for 72 minutes listening to Jeopardy think, then Stian says Three Stooges. Yeah. Oh, that could work too. They might not get the reference, but yeah. Then after 72 minutes of all that music, then well, I don't know. We'll give him the Gold Star Award for gullibility. I don't know. Maybe it just hangs up at that point because I'm all out of effort at that point to try to paste together Jeopardy think for that 73rd minute. Maybe I shouldn't have turned on some of those very small optional features. But anyways, Lazy Bite Boy says, nah, time for a Rickroll at the end. Yeah. Never gonna give you up. Yeah. You know, the Rickroll could be the hold music. They might not get the reference. Hmm. Oh, there we go. 71 minutes. Jack says, are you keeping up with the Windows 98 setup? Because the Windows 98 setup is keeping up with you. Sadbeck says, I feel old. Yeah. I think we'll all feel old after this Windows 98 setup finishes. 71 minutes. Doesn't it know that my live stream generally comes to an end in 40 minutes? Stian says, Commodore didn't keep up with me. Yeah, no. Socket Wrench says, that theme, but played at 3/4 speed and in a minor key. The Commodore is keeping up with you. Yeah. Sadmax says, ominous Commodore ad. Yeah. Ian says, that reminds me of HAL 9000 singing Daisy as he's being deactivated. Yeah. Oh, looky there. I just realized we went down to 69 minutes. Woohoo. We're out of the 70 minutes and into the 60 minutes. But not to be confused with the CBS program called 60 Minutes. We're not there. At the rate this file copy's going, Oh, there we go. 12%. Okay, maybe we are actually making real progress here, folks. Maybe. Jack's asking, when do we get to the part with the pictures of the people happily not using a computer? That was Windows 95 setup. Or was that Windows 98? I don't think the Windows 98 second edition setup had any photos. And I don't know why, but yeah. Jack says, oh, right, that was 95. Yep, okay, so that was the 95 setup. I think 98 setup was just... I think they skipped the stock photos of people not using computers and just went with the text on blue background. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch what 98 did. And maybe it depends on whether you're running setup in DOS mode or Windows mode. Jack says they didn't have time to take new photos between 95 and 98. Yeah. All right, at least the file copy progress seems to be going a little bit faster. Lazy Bite Boy says they didn't even have time to get Matthew Perry and Jennifer Aniston to make another Windows 98 video either. Yeah. Yep, I know who you were talking about. I have that VHS tape somewhere in the house. All right, we are to 67 minutes. Jack's asking, there was a Friends cast Windows 95 video. It was just Matthew Perry and Jennifer Aniston. I think they were the only two of the Friends cast that were in it, but yes, there was. It was I think it was a how-to video, technically. I believe there's a few watch and react videos on YouTube of it. I'm fairly sure there is. Yeah, Lazy Bite Boy confirms it's just those two from Friends. Jack says, that sounds disturbing. Ian says, my favorite retro celebrity commercial is the Ricardo Montalban Chrysler commercial. Kabum says, could this installation be any slower? Jack says, yes. Yeah, if I put the turbo switch on, it would be slower. 66 minutes. At least the installation is going. Oh, Gutbomb says, I was just doing a Chandler impression. Yeah. Thomas Armstrong says, Windows can do it slow. Yes. I am going to put this motherboard in a case and, like, at least keep it as a built system so I can enjoy the meritocracy of the mediocrity of the processor in the future. I just don't know which case to put it in yet. Jack says, lol, the snail like in the Macintosh ad with the Pentium too. Yeah. Somewhere I've got a case that I think this would fit in nicely. I just have to choose wisely. I do see a mini tower case that I've got. It came with a Pentium board in it, but the Pentium board had problems. It kind of does look like a 486-ish era mini tower. It does have a green power button. Kind of feels appropriate for this green PC motherboard. Might not be a bad choice for a case to put it in. Jack's asking, was that a G3 ad? I'm trying to remember. I believe it was, or it was G4. Actually, it might have been G4 with the Altavec engine. Yeah, because Apple did a bunch of those commercials because of the Altavec engine and the G4. I'm fairly sure that was the G4 and Pentium 2. Not 100% certain, but now I'm about to. Oh, no, it was a G3 ad. Yeah, because MMX was taken. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, this low-end Mac article from 2008. I seem by Ited Hodges. Says, I seem to remember a time about 9 years ago when Apple was bragging about how its PowerPC G3 CPU was up to twice as fast as its Pentium 2 counterpart. Does the snail ad ring a bell? So yeah, it was the and then they had the tanks, I think, with the G4 Cube, wasn't it? Anyways, yeah, I think it was actually G3. For some reason, I thought it was G4 in the Ultivec engine, but I think that was other ads. Is this using a Trident card? Well, of course it is. Because the video card's not really playing a part in its slowness. "64 minutes, over 21% done with copying. Woohoo!" And within reason, I might... I mean, I do have to go to work tomorrow, but... let's see where this file copy lands. Because if Thomas Armstrong says, good thing it's a fast video card. Well, it is my Visa Local Bus Trident card. It is actually a fairly decent performing video card. Hardware hackers. Oh, go send me a image of what the new addition to the desk will look like. Nice. Oh. Oh yeah, okay. That looks nice, hardware hacker. Huh. Oh, instead of the Switch, it'll be 2 scalars. Nice. Okay. I don't have Discord on this PC, but I do on my phone. I've had to... I think I've had to uninstall Discord from 2 PCs now because it was interfering with the computer, and my streaming computer is one of them. And in fact, I think I might have a third computer that is going to require me to remove Discord from it, but it's kind of annoying. Yeah, I've got one of those little ThinkPad Carbon X1s or something, or whatever the model is. It's got like an i7 7600 processor in it, which unfortunately I think that was a year where Intel only, the i7 mobile processors only had 2 cores. It's like a really weird generation. I seemingly remember Intel was rather stingy with their cores in one of their generations, and I think it was the 7th gen, 7000 series, whatever. I think it only has like 2 cores and 4 threads. It's really, I mean, don't get me wrong, the price I paid for it was right. It was given to me, so I can't complain there, but I'm glad I didn't pay for it, because it's kind of underwhelming with, because I think it only has like 2 actual cores. Jack says, oh yeah, those 2-core i7s with hyperthreading, we got those at work and they were horrible. Yeah, I think this was the 7000 series was the generation like, because I even remember the MacBooks with that generation processor was underwhelming because there was only 2 cores on a lot of them. I don't remember what Intel was going through, but they sure weren't ticking and talking, that's for sure. All right, we are a quarter of the way through the file copy. 62 minutes remaining. We will not actually... The live stream is not going to go another hour. I hate to disappoint that much. Jack says, imagine how horrible that generation was, and then imagine installing corporate security software on it. They absolutely crawled. Yeah, I know. That would be... Hardware Hacker says, wow, this digital paint is taking a while to dry. Yeah. That is at least one thing I'm going to try to do on my workbench is have enough room so I can set a second computer up so that if we're doing something involving a file copy like this, we might be able to do something else while it copies. Because I've been thinking of how I would hook up the video captures. And I think I have enough video capture capability in this computer. Because actually, the main capture card I use has another input that I don't normally use. That I would be able to capture 2 computer sources if they are... and I wouldn't have to necessarily go through my scaler. I was actually thinking of hooking the my Extron up to the other input of that capture card. So it would let me have a second VGA capture source. Hardware Hacker says, it's a BSOW, blue screen of wait. Jack says, might as well be a BSOD, blue screen of death. Jack says, lovely shade of blue, though. Yeah. 59 minutes, 30%. So, yeah, this is kind of the thing. Even if I have to end the stream, I will let this copy go a little longer. Actually, probably what is going to happen, though, looking at the time, I'm hoping that the file copy will finish before midnight, or very shortly thereafter. When this install does its power cycle, or its restart, I will power the computer off so I can do the restart later this weekend. Hardware Hacker says, this probably would have gone quicker if you'd first copied the install to the C drive and installed from there. Well, Hardware Hacker, this might be hard to believe, but that's exactly what I did. I copied the installer to the C drive. I don't know of anything faster I could have done. The installer is on the C drive. Ian says we can keep an eye on it. Jack says, are we taking bets yet on which drivers Windows 98 will install correctly? Well, actually, Windows 98 First Edition installed all the drivers correctly, so although it didn't have optimized drivers for the disk controller card. Jack says, you just need a 15,000 RPM SCSI drive. Sadback says, yep, slow computer speed running. Wouldn't that actually be kind of more like slow running? How slow of a computer can we install Windows 98 on and only specify the NM installer parameter. Lazy Bite Boy says, as long as FreeCell works, it'll be fine. I think it will have all the drivers, although not an optimized driver for the disk controller. It'll be a generic disk controller driver. I know the Trident driver is built into Windows 98, so that one's going to be fine. Yeah, mouse and keyboard. My question is it going to see the processor as a Pentium MMX? That's why we're doing this silly little experiment. I want to see if the Wikipedia article is true or false on this processor. Now, there are a couple other UMC processors if this one shows up as a 486, but I want to see what Windows 98 Second Edition thinks it is. Jack says, I feel like it's going to be missing something dumb like serial ports. And Max says, I don't know. This came about in a different Discord I'm in. I have long since asking questions. Jack says, I can see the yellow exclamation points in Device Manager now. Harder Hacker says, me too. Yeah, we're not even halfway done copying files. I get the distinct impression I'm going to have to let the... Well, okay, let's see how long the file copy takes. Because I'm balancing the actual time, how long it's estimating it's going to be to finish, and how warm I am right now, or in reality, how chilled I am right now. The heater is... pointed at me just a little more directly, maybe, but yeah, it's remember, my basement's cold. Oh, there we go. I think I got the heater pointed a little more on my back, but I don't know how much that's going to help. So, yeah, that's the... 50 minutes, 46% file copy complete. I'm maybe kind of regretting the not just doing a compact install, but I really don't know how much that would have saved, honestly. Jack's asking, what was Mac84 working on in the video where he was shaking a hammer at the screen? Was it a compact? I believe it was a compact. One of those compact Presarios, I believe. Harder Hacker says, lol, I actually just thought about that as soon as I read Mac84. Jack says, I can't remember if that was when he was trying to get the SCSI to work for the high capacity floppy drive. I don't remember exactly what he was trying to get working, but I am fairly sure it was the compact Presario. Jack says, "You better work." Yeah. Lazy Bite Boy says, "I looked those up on eBay after I saw that video," and chat scroll. And some guy was selling one without the motherboard, power supply, or anything besides the case and CRT for like $500. Yikes. Jack says, "I have a 2.88 megabyte floppy drive with a SCSI controller on it. It came out of a PBX." Jack says, "And then later the hammer just came in from the side of the screen. Lol, yeah. Hardware hacker. Hit it with a hammer.net. Ian says, "I have a hammer and some broken hardware. Rage room, anyone?" We are at 49 minutes and still at 47%. At some point, I just want to see like the file copy progress just start sailing. Oh, faster performance from Windows 98 Second Edition. That's nice. I'm not feeling it. I'm also maybe somewhat regretting. I had one other thought of installing, or at least letting the Windows 98 copy run with a faster processor and then putting the UMC one back in, but I'm kind of regretting not giving that a second thought. I mean, I don't know if that would help the file copy go any faster. Oh, woohoo! There we go. Oh, look at that. We went from 49 to 53 now, and we're at 46 minutes remaining. 54%. Interesting. That was a little jump in file copy progress. Hardware Hacker says it got scared from all the talk about hitting it with a hammer. Yeah. Hardware Hacker's asking, I wonder if the drive is a slow one. Is this using spinning rust or one of those compact flash cards? It's a compact flash card. In fact, it's a SanDisk Ultra 2. So it's rated at... the rating is not marked on the card, but it should be a decent speed compact flash card. I think we're just seeing what happens when you try to install Windows on a machine that's slower than the recommended speed. I'm blaming Windows 98 Second Edition, but Microsoft would tell me it's user error. Read the minimum system requirements. Seriously, the minimum system requirements for Windows 98 Second Edition is like a DX266. This is an SX33. Because, yeah, we're 55% in 45 minutes. I mean, I had the thought of maybe I had thought about putting a DX266 in it or even a DX4 100 or something in it to let the files copy faster potentially, but I don't know if that would have. There's no guarantee that it would have copied any faster. It could be the disk controller card. It's just not that fast under DOS. Lazy Bite Boy says, I assumed the minimum was a Pentium. Jack says, shared a video and says, there's one appearance of the hammer. Yeah, I'm fairly sure the minimum spec was a DX266. But I think Microsoft recommended a Pentium. I mean, it would... Yeah, so according to Wikipedia, because Microsoft doesn't have these minimum requirements on their website anymore. So yeah, Windows 98 minimum processors a 486-66 or higher. So basically a DX266 or faster. Pentium processor recommended. For first edition, 16 megabytes of RAM. For second edition, 24 megabytes of RAM. And I have 32 megabytes of RAM in the system, so I don't meet the minimum spec for processor. I do for RAM. Storage, somewhere around... Well, they're saying how big the install is, so... Really, for Windows 98, you probably want at least a 540 meg hard drive. Probably really a gigabyte at least. By 98, I mean, you could get a several gig hard drive fairly cheap, so probably really what you would have wanted to use. Display VGA or higher, so this Trident card's fine. CD-ROM or DVD-ROM drive for media. Well, I don't have one of those, but we're installing from the compact flash card and a Microsoft mouse, which I do have a Microsoft mouse. It actually is a Microsoft mouse. Yeah, Windows 98 Second Edition worked pretty well on a Pentium too. I would agree, Hardware Hacker. Jack says, I feel like it also appeared in an earlier video in the series. I kind of want to say that Steve has brought the hammer out multiple times. And quite honestly, it might have been both, because he did at least 2 videos on that compact Presario. Yeah, Lazy Bite Boy says, yeah, I used Windows 98 on a Pentium 2 back in the day. Jack says, PC 84 cracks me up. Yeah. Yeah, I think back in the day when I was running Windows 98, I would have been running it on a AMD K6 3, somewhere about a 450. I think that's what I would have been running when I upgraded to 98 in no, I guess when I first upgraded to 98, I bet I had a K6 2, but I think I upgraded to a K6 3 before going to college. And then sometime around when Windows XP came out, I remember going up to an Athlon XP. I think that was about midway through college. I think I upgraded to Athlon XP just because kind of more demanding computer use for college. K6-3 was a good system when I built it, but it was kind of showing its age by the time midway through college. So I remember upgrading to an Athlon XP and having trouble with cooling because of the way the case was made. And I remember doing a case swap while I was in college to a case that didn't have airflow problems. And by airflow problems, I mean the power supply wasn't mounted such that the processor fan was blowing air into the fan on the bottom of the power supply. Yeah, the in-wind case I had was great when it came out for early ATX boards, but it was not that great when with Athlon XP because the power supply was just in the wrong spot for motherboards that new. God, a case swapped. I don't remember what case I replaced it with. All right, 43 minutes, 59%. Seemingly, these minutes are taking longer than real time. And Stian says, these are Microsoft minutes. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Microsoft minutes. Stian says, kind of the opposite of a New York minute. Hardware Hacker says, you beat me to it. Yeah. So, yep, I guess, so Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern, will be starting to put back the Profile 3 back together. And we got the 1.4 gigahertz Pentium 3 processor for it. Hopefully that works. If it all comes back together, I'll probably order some, well, actually, I didn't order more RAM for it because I wanted to make sure I didn't have 2 512 megabyte PC-133 DIMMs floating around the basement. But I do have some picked out for Memory Masters if I need to max out the RAM, which I probably will max out the RAM. But you can upgrade the RAM without taking the entire thing apart, so I'm not too worried about that. The processor, though, you pretty much have to take it apart. Not completely, but apart enough that I just wanted to do the processor while I was putting it back together. After all, the goal for this Profile 3 is it will probably have a place on my new workbench so that if I need to use older programming tools, like older EEPROM programmers or microcontroller programmers, I'll have a system on the workbench to be able to plug the parallel port programmer into and run. So it's I mean, it's a cool system, don't get me wrong, and I'll probably put some games on it or something, but I have a second purpose for it, and that's to use some of my older programmers. So it will probably get a spot on my workbench just so that I can use them. So, but still, it's kind of nice to have a faster processor on them. Jack says, what's the latest on the new workbench? I bought the lumber. The lumber's in my garage. I haven't really had a chance to build it because it's either been like too cold or too rainy. And then I've had some other things I've needed to do. So, when I get some of those other things done, hopefully I'll get to building it. Hopefully maybe the weather might be a bit more cooperative. Generally, this time of the year in Virginia, we are going to have some days that get kind of cold. So, yeah, I've got the lumber. I do need to go back to Home Depot and get a sheet of foam so I can cut the MDF panel. Yeah, I got too much to do this weekend, so... Plus, it's supposed to get really cold, like, early next week. Because the thing is, I'm probably going to have to at least cut the lumber in the garage. And I'm not going to be working on a workbench while it's, like, in the teens. Or probably the 20s, because I don't really have a good way of heating my garage. So I'd just be cold and miserable. Yeah, it's like a spring project. It probably maybe I might be able to get to it later in February. Because generally by the time we get to February, we start to maybe have a few cooperative days again. But yeah, we're kind of in that part of January where I didn't get a chance to work on it in December. Although we had some rainy, some miserable weather in December during weekends to try to work on it. So, kind of one of those. January is just not really the month to try to work on it in the garage. So, yeah, it's kind of more of a spring project. But I do have the lumber. It's standing by. If we would happen to get an uncharacteristically warm weekend and I don't have other things that must be done, then yeah, I've got it on standby. But yeah, because I even have. Let me see, where did I put them? Oh yeah, there we go. Because one thing I've got here for the workbench is yeah, I've even got started to buy some of the hardware parts. Oh, that's also reminds me, I do need to buy screws to put the thing together, but those I can just go. I don't need a special trip. I can just go and buy hardware fasteners. Anyways, I did buy some metal brackets that I'm not exactly sure how they're supposed to mount. Oh, I guess these face out. So therefore rack mount. Oh yeah, there we go. They're even marked with units there. So they're brackets that I guess you would attach it to your surface with these holes. There's your holes that the equipment's going to mount on. I think these might actually be threaded holes. Yeah, the holes are threaded, so you don't have to try to use cage nuts. But anyways, I got these so I can mount, so I can have rails to mount like the scaler and whatnot too. I'm probably going to get a little rack mount shelf to put the, because my Ethernet switch is not rack mountable. um, because yeah, I will. By the time I get the new workbench down here in the basement, I'll have a 2.5 gigabit switch for the workbench, but I buy a cheaper one that doesn't have a rack mount kit available for it because I don't want to spend a ton on the 2.5 gigabit networking equipment. Because actually, the current computer I have down here for streaming doesn't have a 2.5 gigabit network port on it. The computer I have to replace it, which I'll bring down here when the new workbench is in place because the case is kind of obnoxiously large. It has a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port on it. And it's not really do I need that for streaming? No, but for copying files to and from my NAS, very nice. The top of the workbench will be MDF. 3/4 inch MDF. It's quite awful to cut, but it will make for a nice flat workbench top. It's also fairly cost effective and can be fairly easily replaced. So yeah, it'll be an MDF top. So I've got the base plans for the workbench. They're in the form of a YouTube video. I am going to adjust the dimensions slightly so that the workbench is not quite as high, so I can use a normal height desk chair. And I'm going to build a hutch. Well, not like a full height hutch, but basically a probably something that my test equipment can go under the monitors, and the monitors can just sit on top of it, and probably not use monitor arms. Just set the monitors back on top of it. Jack says 52 minutes have elapsed in the 68 minutes since the install started. Oh, great. Yeah, yeah, these are Microsoft minutes. You know what's more entertaining? Slow Windows installs that you can make fun of. Yes, with support for DVD. Oh, great. Can you imagine a DVD, on this 486 33 megahertz? I can't. If you want to talk about minutes per frame, this thing would probably turn a Hollywood movie into a PowerPoint presentation. And there's no PCI slot, so there's no DVD accelerator card going in it. All right, we are almost to 70% file copy progress. 37-minute estimated remaining. 70% file copy progress. Better games. Yes, this is a gaming system. And I say that thinking of Bringa Studios and all his videos doing gaming on things that have no place doing gaming. And I think I would put the system somewhere between the thermal printer and the um other slow thing. Yeah, somewhere between the thermal printer and the Operation board game. If he's run gaming on a potato, then it would be between the thermal printer and the potato. I'm sure someone out there will suggest something that he's done on tried to run games on that's about as fast as this computer, but yeah. Oh, there we go. 75%. We are 77%. Whoa. 78%. 79%. 80%. I think we've just hit a file copy spurt here. Kind of like a growth spurt, but for computers. 80%. 31 minutes remaining. And then it's slowed down again, of course. Okay, I'm going to not, yeah, I thought of something and I'm not going to say it. It was wrong. I'm sorry, Microsoft. I was going to make fun of how slow this is installing. But I shouldn't. Not. What I was going to say might have been misinterpreted, so I'm not going to say it. Lazy Bite Boy says, it's moving just fast enough to give hope. Yeah, I know. It went from like 75 to 80% really fast, and now it's slowed down again. Stian says, hurry up and wait. Yeah. Yeah, this install is giving me so much time to imagine what we're going to be able to do with Windows 98 once we get it installed. Just having being able to read all these features that it's been leading up to during the file copy. I mean, this is going to be a fantastic Windows 98 experience. I can't wait. We have theoretically only 31 minutes remaining. 31 Microsoft minutes. Joe says, I'm late, was watching Star Trek. What's the update? Well, we are at 81% file copy progress on this Windows 98 second edition attempt. 31 minutes remaining, 31 Microsoft minutes remaining. This install attempt seems to be going much better than the previous one, but this time around I decided to do a Windows 98 second edition full retail install instead of trying to do the update from 98. Because I think given this system doesn't meet the minimum system requirements, that's why I was running into problems trying to do the Windows 98 second edition update from 98. But yeah, hi Joe. Jack says 59 install minutes have elapsed in the last 75 minutes. Yes, I am glad someone is keeping track of that because I forgot to start. 30 minutes estimated remaining, 82% file copy progress. I do not recommend installing Windows 98 on a UMC 486SX processor. It is a miserable experience, but we have Wikipedia articles to fact check here. I want to see, does this processor get detected as an MMX processor by Windows 98 Second Edition? The world must know. Did we figure out the CPU thing yet, or we're not even there yet? No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Yes, I almost skipped Wheel of Regrets tonight to give extra time for this install, but then I realized that no, I still have to do Wheel of Regrets. Besides, the box was, the stack of boxes was kind of not exactly in a good spot to not fall over and trip one, so. Joe says, I installed Windows 98 Second Edition upgrade from 95 on a 486 for a friend in high school. It was not fun. I should have done Wheel of Regrets during the install. Maybe I should have. That would have possibly, other than it's kind of hard to open packages over top of a running motherboard on a box, but well, Jack, I guess the one reason I was doing Wheel of Regrets first is I did want to try to use the controller card I bought for this motherboard for when I put it together in a case. I did want to try to use that controller card for the install, but I wasn't able to make it happy. So, yeah, that was one reason why I did want to do Wheel of Regrets, was so I could open that package and try that controller card. But so far, that controller card has not worked for me yet. So, there we go. 26 minutes estimated, 89% file copy progress. Hardware Hacker says, we could still be in Wheel of Regrets, and that it's regrettable how long this install is taking. Yeah. Jack says, now you get the opportunity to see if Plug and Pray detects it correctly when you install it later. Yes. Yeah. Actually, spoiler alert, I probably will not leave Windows 98 Second Edition on the computer. And unless it like runs way better once it's installed. Windows Update, yeah. I mean, I guess the nice thing about the compact flash card is I guess I could still keep the compact flash card around and put it back in the system when I want to laugh, but please register your copy of Windows 98. All right, I will get right on top of that. But not within the next 23 Microsoft minutes. All right, we are almost to the reboot. Exciting times, folks. 97%, 22 minutes. Jack says, the Microsoft Windows 98 team implores you to register your copy of Windows 98. Yeah. I think this was probably the way they worded it, because in reality it would have been, please register your copy of Windows 98. Sincerely, the Microsoft Windows marketing team. %, file copy progress, 21 minutes. Including, but I do know that is not going to be 21 minutes of real time. All right, restart now. All right. Yeah. The developers, Jack's point. The developers don't care if you register or not. Yeah. Other departments in Microsoft don't want you to register. Getting ready to run Windows for the first time. All right. Woohoo! I mean, at least it seems to be booting Windows decently fast. I mean, from what I can tell from the hard drive activity light. Thomas Armstrong says, Windows 98 has arrived. Hardware Hacker says, wow, nobody has ever run Windows before. Yeah. There we go. The hourglass cursor. We get to wait. Yay! We are waiting. It's the first time, folks. Yeah. Yeah. Well, too bad. Yeah. But I guess at least there's not a graphic that says preparing to run Windows 98 for the last time. So there's no special graphic that could indicate that this is the running Windows 98 for the first time for the last time. There we go. 18 minutes setting up hardware and finalizing settings. Windows 98 is now initializing its driver database. All right. This is going to take forever. Yeah, 18 Microsoft minutes. If it wasn't for the fact that it's 12:25 a.m., I probably really should be winding the stream down to go to bed, but I feel pretty wired right now, so not like I'm going to immediately fall asleep if I did go upstairs. Um, yeah, I think it's going to take a hot minute for this driver database to be initialized. And Stan says, I'm wired too. I just had a Dr. Pepper. Sadmax says, could have actually taken anywhere from the estimated time to a few business days back in the day. Yeah, I know. I have heard people claim that they've run Windows 98 on a 386, and I cannot imagine that, given how exciting the install has been on a 486 SX33, unauthorized 486 SX33, one that Intel certainly did not authorize. Woohoo, 17 minutes. Now, we haven't gotten to the 10-minute stretch, that's for sure. 16 minutes. We're now setting up your hardware and plug-and-play devices. All right. There are no plug-and-play devices on this system that I'm aware of. Stian says, run, walked, crawled. Sadmac. No one really knew, especially not Windows. Stian says, these are New York minutes now. Yeah. Hardware Hacker says, the, quote, 10-minute stretch. No, I'm not kidding, Hardware Hacker. When we get to the 10 estimated time remaining 10 minutes, I'm not kidding. It is the 10-minute stretch. As in, the 10-minute stretch. It will stay at 10 minutes so long that you are wondering if it will ever end. If Joe's there in the chat, he will agree with me that the 10-minute stretch is a real thing. You could probably go, on certain systems, you could probably do a workout, come back, and it'll still be at 10 minutes. I might be exaggerating there a little bit, but Stian says, with 9 minutes to go, yeah. It's like it will be at 10 minutes for 10 minutes. When we get there, someone start a stopwatch. I'm not kidding. And the thing is, it's not just the system. It's like any Windows 98 system. It will be at 10 minutes for quite a while. All right, we are detecting non-plug-and-play hardware. Lazy Bite Boy says, just like watching a movie download, yeah. 21% complete the hardware detection. All right, 15 minutes remaining. Stian says, just like watching a real video movie. Buffering, yeah. Hardware Hacker says, stopwatch ready. All right. Sadmax says, Windows minutes. When you can get up and go do something else for the next 20 minutes or so. Yeah, seriously. Now, this may go from like 15 minutes to 10 minutes fairly quickly. It just depends on how long it takes it to scan for non-plug-and-play hardware. I think at least for 98 second edition, it looks like Microsoft added a % complete along with the progress bar, because I think on 98, this might only have a progress bar, so it's kind of hard to know until it jumps a block that it is running. It also seems like it's running faster on second edition. Maybe Microsoft refined the non-plug-and-play detection. All right, I think I'm going to give second edition that I think it ran the hardware detection faster than the first edition did. So, all right, that's good. 13 minutes to go. I don't know. Is it going to make us reboot or not? Okay, looks like it may not make us reboot. SadMX says, for anyone who wants to know why, Tom Scott actually did a video on that a while back. All right. 13 minutes to go still. Probably, oh, 12 minutes. All right. It's probably installing drivers. I had to guess it's probably installing the video card drivers. Well, and I guess the chipset drivers. Or wait, it might not be the 10-minute stretch. It might be the 7-minute stretch. I always get it mixed up because it's one of the two. Kind of like the 7th inning stretch. That hardware hacker says I'll still count from 10. Okay. Hopefully we're going to be done soon. Hardware hacker says 10 Microsoft minutes. Blue screen. Yeah. It is that we do have disk activity. I am not worried about occasional pauses in the magnifying glass. There we go. 12 minutes. We'll get my stopwatch ready. So, hardware hacker is going to time from 10 minutes, and I'm going to time from 7 minutes in case it's the 7 minutes was the actual one I was thinking of, and then we can. We're 12 minutes remaining still. That way, at least we have our bases covered for timing. Yep. I am still seeing disk activity, so. All right. Mouse is still responsive, so we're not locked up. Hardware hacker says, I love how it isn't even telling us what it's doing at the at this phase. And it's not even trying to like sell us on something either. Showing us there's no computers in this picture photo. Saying how much the Internet Explorer team loves us. Oh, there we go. There's 10 minutes. Oh, all right. I got to quickly... setting up the control panel. I don't know why it has to update shortcuts, considering like there were none to begin with, and now it just should have installed the installer ones, but whatever. Oh yeah, okay. I guess maybe it was the 10-minute stretch. Yeah, this updating system settings is this is the one I'm thinking of that just seems to go on forever. Although, maybe it's... maybe this part's actually running faster than first edition? Alright, I started my 7-minute timer, but I think maybe 10 minutes was the one I was thinking of. Although the good news is we have made it further than we did last time we had this board out, and I was trying to do the Windows 98 second edition update from first edition. We definitely did not get this far to even have the 10-minute stretch. So, yay. And maybe we will have the answer to the mystery tonight. So I guess while we wait for the updating system settings, how about let me go ahead and do a few announcements. Let me pull up my live stream schedule so I get topics correct. Anyways, Monday we are going to be putting the Profile 3 back together. That would be the Gateway Profile 3. And that is going to start at 4 p.m. Eastern on Monday. And let's see, I do not have anything picked out for next Thursday, although I'm leaning towards a possibly a Mac stream. Possibly the 475. So to be determined on that. And then I believe so the following Tuesday, that would be the 27th, I think I was going to be looking at the 5150 floppy drives then, and then that following Thursday, I was probably going to do another Mac stream. So don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. And if you don't turn on notifications, then you definitely won't be notified. And smash that like button if you like it when I put Wikipedia claims to the test. Hopefully we will have an answer here shortly. And yeah, Hardware Hacker says now 5 minutes have elapsed in the 10-minute stretch, and we are still at 7 minutes. Yes, we've been at the 7-minute mark now for 3 minutes mark. So yeah, and if you've got a friend that likes computer repair live streams, or even when we do silly experiments like this, share my channel with a friend, because then they can join in on all the fun too. So yeah, Thomas Armstrong says, great stream, love the timers. Yeah, I thought I would knock those announcements out of the way so that when this finishes, hopefully in the next eon or so, then I can end the stream and go to bed. Stian says, what are friends? Yeah, good question, Stian. I mean, you could also let your barista know at Starbucks, but that could be hit or miss. Hardware Hacker says 6 minutes elapsed, 4 minutes mark on the 7-minute timer. Yeah, Jack says lol. Yeah, barista at Starbucks asks, what kind of milk do you like? And your response, yeah, I like Computerized Start. They'll just look at you funny. No, I really need to know what kind of milk you want in your drink. Yeah. Computer. Computerized milk, yeah. Jack says, drum roll, yes. 7 minutes, says Hardware Hacker. All right, we're gonna be at 5 minutes on the 7-minute timer mark. And if anyone's wondering, we are not locked up because there. I'm going to move the mouse there. So that's where we were at 5 minutes in the 7-minute mark. Stian's. Stian's. Yeah. I mean, seriously. I mean, this might be a bit slower because I'm running it on such a slow computer, but even on fast computers, this seemingly was the slowest part of the install. Hardware Hacker says 8 minutes on the 10-minute timer. We're at 6 minutes on the 7-minute timer mark. Stian says, let's be honest, there weren't really fast computers in this era. Yeah. Sadback says, it was a complete accident and it wasn't even my computer. It was Michael MJD's video of all things. I must have missed a message somewhere. "9 minutes," says Hardware Hacker on the 10-minute timer. All right, we are going to be at 7 minutes on the 7-minute timer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Oh, Sadmax says accidental networking during lockdown. Ah. Oh, Stian says accidental friends today on the Accidental Tech Podcast. Yeah, Harder Hacker says, to be fair, this probably wasn't intended to run on a machine this slow. Yeah. But also, to be fair, this was always slow. Tech says, love the Accidental Tech podcast. I may have to check that one out. Granted, I have so many things on my to-do list, but Harder Hacker says 10 minutes elapsed. Yes, we're at the 8 minutes for the 7-minute stretch mark. Cian says, yes, I installed Windows 2000 in 2025. Jack says, the hosts on the ATP have such good chemistry. I have thought about podcast ideas, and I may do it someday. But it might surprise you, but I've actually I don't necessarily want to do a technology podcast. I'm still kind of thinking about what I want the format to be. Hardware Hacker says 11 minutes elapsed. All right, our 7-minute stretch is going to be 9 minutes long. Mark. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've also thought about maybe the podcast would be technology related, but I thought it could be really cool to um I've had some other ideas. I'm not ready to share them yet. Hardware Hacker says 12 minutes elapsed. My phone screen just went to sleep. Oh, got 10 minutes on my timer mark. So yeah, we've been at 10 minutes remaining. It was 12 minutes ago when 10 minutes remaining was on the screen, and 10 minutes ago when 7 minutes remaining was on the screen. And it's been several minutes since the box has moved, but there we go. At least the cursor is changing, so I'm not too worried yet that it's locked up, since, because the drum has been beating. I think it was the 7-minute stretch I was thinking of. Hardware Hacker says 13 minutes ago we saw 10 minutes remaining. All right, I am going to say 11 minutes ago we saw 7 minutes remaining. 3, 2, 1, mark. You know, I would just like to see one new blue box appear on that dialog box like any day now. Hardware Hacker says 13 minutes. And we're at, 14 minutes, Hardware Hacker says. Yep, that was an old update. And yeah, we're about to hit 12 minutes. 12 minutes ago, we saw 7 minutes appear. 12 minutes ago, mark. Two more minutes. And we will have been at 7 minutes for twice as long. I mean, seriously, if it wasn't for the fact that it's so late, I could have gone upstairs and made a pot of coffee, and it would almost be cool enough to start drinking it. But then then I'd be awake all night, so let's not do that. Hardware Hacker says 15 minutes have now elapsed. All right, we are going to be at 13 minutes of 7 minutes remaining. Mark. Stian says 15 minutes have elapsed in the last 7 minutes. Yeah. This is why we were calling them Microsoft minutes. Because how long is a Microsoft minute? No one knows, not even Microsoft. I'm pretty sure Dave Plummer has a video on the progress bar, and I'm pretty sure that also applies to the estimated time remaining on a Windows 98 install. Hardware Hacker says 16 minutes now for when we got to 10 minutes remaining. Yeah, we are about to come up on 14 minutes of 7 minutes remaining mark. Jack says, so 83 install minutes equals 112 real minutes. Oh, wait a minute. The dialog box just blinked. That's a good sign. It always does that. Stian says, length dot Microsoft minute equals random 60. Yeah. That's about right. Good one. Yeah. Harder Hacker says good one, Stian. Yeah, that sounds... Oh, looky there. We got a new box. And we're 6 minutes remaining. So we had 7 minutes remaining on the screen for 14 minutes and 40 seconds or so. All right, there we go. That's what I wanted to time. So 7 minutes remaining for 14 minutes and about 40 seconds. Stian's asking, are those binary, decimal, or hex minutes? Sad Mac says, yes. 5 minutes remaining, folks. Stian says 60 hexadecimal seconds, perhaps. Yeah. 5 minutes remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Yeah, it's like this part of the install is like Windows 98's going, oh no, I just made them wait 7 minutes remaining for so long. Let me hurry up and get done with this. Hardware Hacker says 18 minutes ago we were at 10 minutes remaining. Yes. Thank you. I stopped my timer because I only wanted to time the 7 minute stretch. 3 minutes remaining. All right. Yeah, we are... But you can keep timing, Hardware Hacker, until you see the restart dialog. Jack says it's like driving in stop and go traffic. Yeah. Yeah, Hardware Hacker, keep timing until you see the restart dialog box appear. I won't trigger it early so you can actually have a chance to see it. Stian says, after the plug-and pray subsystem had an accident, yeah. Sadback says, also, these are the moments where I realize I need a bedtime. Hardware Hacker says, 19 minutes. All right. Yeah, we're almost to the point where it's been twice as long since Microsoft told us that it was 10 minutes remaining. All right, 2 minutes remaining. Oh, actually, I set the timer on my heater so it would turn off in case I forgot to turn it off and I set the timer for 3.5 hours, and well, my heater just kicked off, which is fine because as I said, we're gonna let it finish. We'll boot into Windows 98, and we're gonna see if it detects it as a Pentium MMX or not. Stan says, so in half an hour or so, go brush your teeth. Yeah. Stan's telling Sad Mac, your bedtime will be in 15 Microsoft minutes. Harder Hacker says 20 minutes. 20 minutes, folks. That is insane. 20 minutes ago, Microsoft told us 10 minutes remaining. Jack says, I think we're going to be in 16 colors. Yeah, probably. And I'm not going to do anything about it. 1 minute remaining. 1 whole minute remaining. 1 Microsoft minute remaining. Stians says, Microsoft colors? Yeah. Sadmax says, lol, yeah, I'm realizing that it should have probably been sometime before that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going to regret staying up for this install. Harder Hacker says 21 minutes. Yes. Ian says, tomorrow's the weekend. Yeah. Well, oh, yeah, I guess now, yep, tomorrow is the weekend. But I do have to go to work today. I guess the other thing is I do have a 3-day weekend because of Martin Luther King Day, so that's why Monday's stream starts at 4 p.m. That, and I know I'm going to need a bit of extra time to put the profile back together again, so. Less than a minute remaining. I'll believe that when Harder Hacker says 22 minutes. All right. There we go. Stop your timer, Harder Hacker. We have the restart now dialog. Which I'll just let it automatically restart. Harder Hacker says 22 minutes, 15 seconds to go 10 minutes. Yep. That's why we called them 10 Microsoft minutes. Windows is shutting down. All right, well, hopefully Windows will restart back up. Thomas says, the problem is you are traveling too close to the speed of light for Windows. Yeah. Harder Hacker says, but it probably took 15 seconds to set the clock. Yeah. All right, so we'll say 22 minutes for 10 minutes. All right, that's fair. I'd say 22 minutes. I had to kind of estimate where the clock was for the 7-minute stretch because it took me a moment to actually stop the timer. All right, here we go. I think we're about to see the desktop. It's teal. New hardware found. What did it find? Default monitor. Oh, my favorite kind of monitor. I love default monitor. Stian says it's not beautiful. Yep. All right. At least I got a mouse, so it'll make it easier to get to the system properties to see what processor it detects it as. All right, here we go. I think we're about to see icons. Christine says, new hardware found. Default user. Yeah. Updating system settings. You mean you couldn't have done that while you were updating system settings before? No, of course not. We gotta update more system settings. Hacker. New hardware found. Default keyboard. Yeah. New hardware found. Default sector 1. New hardware found. Default sector 2. New hardware found. Default sector 3. Hardware hacker says new hardware found. Microsoft mouse. Yeah, I think it already installed the mouse driver. All right, we are almost there. Had to update some more stuff. All right, come on, Windows. You are just like waving the carrot in front of our face. We want to see what you think this processor is. New hardware found. Trident graphics card. I am kind of wondering if it is. This is why I have 32 megs of RAM in this computer, so at least maybe it would run sometime this century. Think updating more settings, of course. Ian says, new hardware found. Old hardware. Yeah. Hardware hacker. New hardware found. Microsoft minute clock. Stian says, drum roll. Yeah. I mean, it couldn't update these system settings before the reboot while it was updating system settings for 22 minutes. Jack says, these are different system settings. Stian says, it had to update the updated settings. Yeah. And then it had to update the updated settings. Oh, there we go. We got the start menu. We got icons. We got things. We got a program that is performed an illegal operation and will be shut down. Stia says, Internet Explorer that can't display anything. All right, we got to wait for the welcome to Windows 98. For some reason, I cannot move the mouse. Well, it had a mouse driver until the error message appeared. Hardware says that is rendering super slow. Yeah, it's running just as slow as it did with first edition. This graphics card, I don't think has any 2D acceleration. I think that is all completely software rendering. Yeah, all right. Well, we're just gonna have to What are the details? Explorer caused an invalid page fault in module SHLWAPI.dll. I have no idea why it's having trouble either, and um, and in fact, in order to do anything, I'm going to have to power the computer off because that's just Explorer Shell API. That's nice. All right, we're going to go into safe mode. All right, we'll give it a safe mode attempt. Call the vendor for support. Yeah. All right, we will try safe mode. We'll see if that lets us see what it thinks the processor is. Except I didn't hit the key in time, so because Windows was not properly shut down, you are being punished with a disk scan. Yes, you are correct. All right. Maybe, just maybe, it won't crash this time around because it should have already detected everything. Although it's going to run that startup program again. Great. All right. Interestingly enough, oh, I do at least have a mouse now. All right, let's turn this off. Close. Can we go to properties here? And no, it's I don't know what x86 model 4 family 4 model 2 stepping 3 is, but well, I guess I'll have to figure that out later because I don't know if that's MMX Pentium MMX or not. So, well, I will look that up on the internet and I'll post a I'll I'll put a pin thread. Yeah, it does see it as an UMC processor, so something tells me we installed Windows 98 second edition to find that um, Explorer is unhappy about something, and it's not active desktop. And B, oh, yeah, I'm just okay. I should have probably told it yes to reboot to change resolutions because I oh look, it didn't crash, but Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, how much memory does this machine have? 32 megabytes of RAM, which should be plenty of RAM for Windows 98. Yeah, 32 megabytes of RAM. It did detect all the devices, but it is not working correctly. So anyways, on that, no exclamation points. Yeah, so on that disappointment of how poorly Windows 98 Second Edition is running, it's running so badly, I can't even properly shut the computer down. Yeah, seriously. Anyways, with that, I'm going to have to end the stream because we've gone longer than I intended to, and I do have to work. So, with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks for hanging out with me, being cool in the chat, putting up with the Windows 98 Second Edition install on hardware that it was never intended to install on. Yeah, but we did get icons, and I think we discovered that this is not one of the UMC processors the Windows 98 Second Edition detects as Pentium MMX, and it only took 9,999 Microsoft minutes, as Hardware Hacker put it. So, anyways, with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.